Good morning. One more. Good morning. We're in Ward 8. All right. Welcome to historic Anacostia. This is the headquarters of DC's Department of Housing and Community Development. I'm Polly Donaldson. I have the honor of serving as director of the Department of Housing and Community Development. This is a great day. It's an exciting day. Really. It is. And not just because we have the honor of hosting our mayor and members of the council and who are here, as well as department heads and such who have helped make this happen, but really this is the, I believe, although I don't have the exact timeline, these were proposals that were submitted in October and we're announcing results in January, and I think that's significant. As you know, the mayor succeeded in fulfilling her commitment to put $100 million into the Housing Production Trust Fund with the help of council members as well, and of many of you in the audience who advocated for and were instrumental to helping to make that happen. Now we get to see what that type of commitment can do to create and preserve affordable housing here in the district. And of course, this day certainly means a lot to me personally. For those of you who don't know, I'm a relative newcomer to the working on affordable housing from the government side, but I did spend many years working to ensure residents in the district have affordable homes, and I'm really glad to be able to continue that work and effort. As I said, I've worked from the nonprofit developer side of things. I was part of a large coalition of nonprofit advocates, the Coalition for Nonprofit Housing and Economic Development. So I know a lot of what goes into the teaming and the partnerships that are part of what we're celebrating and announcing here today. And it goes way beyond just government, developers, and advocates. We've worked with churches, we've worked with charities and other nonprofit groups to produce units for low and moderate income residents of the district. And we are also making this critically part of the district's Homeward DC ending homelessness plan. And so you will hear about the projects, you will hear about all of them have permanent supportive housing embedded into them. That's how we're going to help house the homeless in our city going forward. We're all in this together. There's been a lot of interagency collaboration, a lot of my colleagues here. But really what I want to just take a few moments before introducing the mayor is to say to my colleagues here from DHCD, many of them are here in the room, who are integral to making not only today happen, but this whole process, that in a year filled with transition, new leadership, new management, new processes, including an electronic application, yay, it is worth noting that the DHCD team did a phenomenal job making today happen, making the technical review, the whole process work, and that is what we are also celebrating today. So I want to thank my colleagues and celebrate them as well. DHCD is moving faster and smarter. We're getting the resources out to our partners who are developing the exciting projects that are going to produce and preserve affordable housing in the district going forward. I'm so proud to be part of this team. And finally, know this. All of this would not be possible without the vision and leadership of our mayor. She has worked tirelessly to put the resources and tools in place to benefit our city, to create the pathways to affordable housing across our city. And so without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the podium the Mayor of Washington, D.C., the Honorable Muriel Bowser.
Well, good afternoon, good morning. Well, the days and hours are running together. But I am really happy to be here, particularly since we're not talking about snow. We are talking about housing and housing Washingtonians. And let me start by acknowledging my good friends on the council. And I like to call her the council member for affordable housing because she chairs the committee, Anita Bonds. Give her a big round of applause. Our host council member from the great Ward 8, LaRuby May. Give her a round of applause. Our council member for Ward 1, Brianne Nadeau. Give her a great round of applause. And the council member for Ward 7, Yvette Alexander. Give her a great round of applause. These council members and the other members of the council really stepped up with us last year when I submitted our budget to include $100 million in affordable housing, making sure that we had at least that much in the Housing Production Trust Fund. They also stood up with us when I appointed Polly Donaldson to the team to make sure that we were thinking about the ways to get the money out the door. The council members challenged us. They said, Bowser, you can't get out $100 million. And I said, I think we can and we must. If we can't get it out, then there's something wrong with us. And so we had to put together smart plans and work with our nonprofit and for-profit community of developers to make sure we were smart about our applications and that we were consistent. What we heard from the development community was that if we know this money is going to be in the pipeline, we can be ready for it. And we can always be planning to put projects out there. And that is the commitment we want to live up to. I know that we all know that housing affordability is one, if not the top issue facing the District of Columbia. And everything that we do is going to help make more people be able to afford to live in Washington, D.C. Last year, I also appointed the Housing Preservation Strike Force, and a number of the members of the strike force are here. So if you're here and you're on the strike force, please give a wave. Thank you to the Housing Strike Force members. What the strike force is concerned about is how we preserve the affordable housing units that we already have in the District of Columbia, and that is an increasing pressure. We know about vulnerable units, the vulnerable units that will lose tax credits over the coming years, the units that are in disrepair and increasingly becoming inhabitable by residents of the District of Columbia. So I charged this team with identifying where the vulnerable units are and figuring out new and innovative ways to invest in those housing units. The first preliminary report from the strike force I will get today. I think the final report I will get on April 1st. The reason why I asked them for a preliminary report is because I'm working on the budget now. And to the extent that there are recommendations in that report that can inform my budget submission, we want to get that done. So what DHCD is announcing today after, and I dare say, and Brian, our deputy mayor, is very adept at talking about these numbers, that we spent more in FY15 out of the Housing Production Trust Fund than had been spent in previous years. Is that right, Brian? That's correct. We're also being more transparent about how those funds are getting out the door, and I want to thank the DMPED team for putting these metrics up on the DMPED website that talks about how these funds are being invested, what's in the pipeline, and what's being spent. So last summer, DHCD issued, as Polly mentioned, the RFP. They received 29 proposals totaling $178 million worth of projects. And today, they are announcing investment in the top 12 projects. So let's hear it for that. These developments will deliver 804 units of affordable housing, a combination of preservation and new units, 466 units of preserved housing, and 338 units of new housing. 83 of these units will be for permanent supportive housing, which is a critical link in our ending homelessness plan. Together, we think 1,800 people will benefit from these investments. As Polly said, it's a collaborative effort. More than $802 million will be invested. $82 million will be invested from the Housing Production Trust Fund, $6 million in 4% low-income tax credits and a combination of $1 million from low-income housing tax credits, DHCD supportive services, and funds from the Department of Behavioral Health. So if we can maintain our commitment and in fact look for more ways to get private sector dollars to help us with improving affordability in the District of Columbia, we can go a long way to ensuring pathways to the middle class for all Washingtonians. So when I talk about $100 million, people in this room know better than most that it's a drop in the bucket, isn't it? So when we talk about affordability, not only are we talking about the stream of preserved and new affordable housing units, we are also working hard every single day to make sure that DC residents have the skills needed to get good jobs so that they can afford a great quality of life right here in Washington, D.C. So DHCD, congratulations. Congratulations to all of the partners. And this isn't the last opportunity. So the next round of funding will be available when, Polly? In March. So if you weren't selected in this round, you have the opportunity to apply for the next round. So let's hear it for 804 units of affordable housing. And before I wrap up, I'm going to check in with the Deputy Mayor to see if he has anything to add. But I should note that we've been joined by at-large council member Alyssa Silverman. Give her a round of applause. Alyssa is also on the Housing Preservation Strike Force. I want to also acknowledge the chair of the Housing Finance Agency, Bua Benitie. I thought I saw Bua. There he is. Give him a big round of applause. Adrienne Todman, who is the Executive Director of the DC Housing Authority. Give her a round of applause. And Maria Day Marshall, who is the leader of the DC Housing Finance Agency. Give her a big round of applause. So with that, Polly will answer your questions.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, so much. I'm also going to, thank you very much. I'm also going to actually tell you which 12 projects they are, because I think that there are a few people in the room, I know they know already, but I think the rest of the world may want to know as well. These are the preservation projects. There are two in Ward 1. One is the Glen Arms at 2518 17th Street. That's the SP Affordable Housing Group, LLC. And also Sarah's Circle, which is a nonprofit developer I think many of you know, at 2551 17th Street in Ward 1 as well. In Ward 5, we have Heaton House, 2900 Newton Street. These are preserving affordable units, and that's being done by THC Affordable Housing, Inc. In Ward 6, we have being done by the Redevelopment Housing Advisors, 1431 E Street, Northeast. And then in Ward 7, there are two preservation projects, Huntward Courts by the Newmarket Rental Investments, LLC, and Meadow Green Court at 3605 to 3615 Minnesota Avenue by the E&G Group as well. And then finally in Ward 8 for preservation, we have the Brandywine 30 Preservation Project, 713 Brandywine Street, being done by Dante's Partners. So those are the preservation projects. New production, because you have to do both, right, in order to accomplish the goals the mayor set. In Ward 4, on Spring Road, the So Others Might Eat project at 1433 Spring Road, Northwest. In Ward 7, by Mid-Atlantic Realty Partners, 3534 East Capitol Street, Northeast, through 3552. It's a large project. It's a lot of units being produced, new projects. Ward 7 also, Habitat for Humanity of Washington, D.C. These will be for ownership, doing projects at 28th Place Southeast, 1713 28th Place. In Ward 8 at Andrew Place Development, which I know is with a faith-based collaboration with development, at 2412 Andrew Place Southeast. And then finally, also in Ward 8, 1708 Good Hope Road, very close by here, by 4 Points LLC. So those are the top 12 projects. combination of preservation and production, and I think very much going towards the goals that the mayor has. I believe there may be some members of the media here who may have some questions for you, Madam Mayor.
So we'll take media questions first and any community questions after that. Sam?
What's affordability?
Great question. I'm happy to answer that. Depending on the funding, so affordability is really looking at making it so that those with low and moderate income can afford to be in the district. So for low income, for some it's at 50% of the area median income, which is a phrase that's an amount that's set by the government. Our area median income here in the district or in the region is at about $106,000 per year. So if you take what 50% of that is, that's the income limit on the housing that's being produced.
And what are they paying for these houses? What are they paying for the
rent?
Well, is it rent or are they purchasing?
Well, some are a few are home ownership. As I mentioned, the project with Habitat for Humanity is a home ownership, and where there will be a purchase price that will help folks be able to make the mortgage payments that are in line with those income areas that I just went through.
Let me jump in
Sure.
for a second. So we know, Sam, that anytime a family spends more than 30% of their income on housing, they are housing, what's the word I want? Burdened. And so our goal is as much as possible to make sure we're creating and using our housing production trust fund to keep people within those limits. The law sets a requirements, so all the projects that we discussed today have a requirement 50% and
30%, 40% need to be 30% AMI or below. Another 40% at between 30 and 50%, and the rest at above 50% of AMI. So these are all, and they're covenanted for a period of 30, a minimum of 30 years. So these are not just one-time projects for 5 years or so. These are sustainable housing stock being built in the district.
Yes.
Can you distinguish the sheet between under construction and in the pipeline? And could you also talk about how many affordable units there are in the city total in existence and how that compares to previous years? And I ask that because we see the units that have been delivered and are in the pipeline, but we don't get a sense of whether that's actually outpacing the numbers that are being lost.
All the projects being announced today are at the selection process, so they're still to go to underwriting and then closing and then construction. So they're not under construction as of yet. I think you have a handout that describes the current pipeline of what is already in existence, the legacy pipeline that we have that we are working to. Development, as you know, is a multi-year project. I don't have to tell anybody, I think, in the room that it is multi-year and there are multiple stages that go into it. This stage is where the partners have gotten together and put together proposals to use public funds, but also private funds as part of their development packages. And I'm certainly happy to be able to get you more information on current affordability and number of units and such. I think Joaquin's going to be able to help you with that as well. All right.
Do you know how many numbers there are? I mean, how many units there are in the city total?
Current affordable units total over the years.
We will be able to talk to
Yep.
you about the units that the government supports. And so we'll have to get back to you later on that. Yep. Sam?
Also, I was curious about 466 basically existing properties that are going to be renovated. That's what I'm assuming you're talking about here.
By preservation, yes.
Are you displacing people to?
No, they're being renovated. If they're residents currently there, tenants there, they have the right to return, and that's been part of the development process, how that temporary relocation and then return to the renovated property is done. If they're vacant, of course, there will be guidelines for new tenants moving in as well.
How many of this 466 are currently occupied?
I don't, but I can get that to you.
Yes, Commissioner.
For the apartments that are being renovated, before people are temporarily moved, are there new requirements for them to return?
No, they're the income requirements that are based on the funding source. So there is a yearly income qualification for the projects that would be in line with keeping with the affordability covenants that are with the apartment units.
And they're coming in to renovate. You're saying they have different income requirements to return?
There may be, but there also are some who are projects where there will be some residents returning who are perhaps over the income limits because of agreement with the developer on that. And it's really on an individualized basis depending on the tenants and the residents who are there in conversation with the developers as well.
Resources are in place for those who will not be able to return.
I actually don't know that they're going to not be any that will not be able to return. It really does depend on the individual projects, and this is part of what the developers had to present in their proposals as well.
I understand it, but I'm saying for those who may not be able
But
to
Commissioner, I
return.
don't want you to assume that that's not what the director said. So I don't want you to go down a road that doesn't lead anywhere. So what she said is that she would find out if that is even a consideration.
Thank you. Are there other questions? Yes?
A little bit of a different direction here. How do you think several days after the snow, the city is now coping?
Well, we're talking about housing, and that's how. So the fact that we're talking about housing and not snow should tell you something. No, but we are just extremely grateful to the men and women of our that are on our team that work 12-hour shifts. Since last Friday, I think we ended the 12 hours yesterday sometime, that they work night and day. We're also grateful to the contractors who work night and day as if they worked for us or they were digging out their own streets. So people really laid it on the line. We got the government open on Tuesday. We were able to send our kids back to school on Wednesday and get the city back in business. So I'm just really proud of their efforts. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Holly Denniston with Corporation for Supportive Housing, CSH. So I have to say congratulations, 88 units, basically 10% of the pipeline for supportive housing. Thank you, and we look forward to working with you on the quality of those units, both on the services side and connecting with services partners.
Thank you. I know Director Laura Zeilinger wanted to be here today, but was managing another part of her portfolio, but is actually was very pleased and participated. Her agency, as did others, participated in the evaluation of the proposals and is very pleased with the results.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the day. Councilmember, hold your place 1 second. I should have acknowledged, and I want to make sure that the councilwoman can speak for the council members here and also the committee.
Well, good morning still. And this is a great occasion. I was telling the mayor as we were sitting there that there's a lot of good spirit in this room, a lot of happy faces, and I think we're turning the corner of not only acknowledging the need for greater housing affordability in the District of Columbia, but we're saying we're putting our money where our mouth is. And so I really commend DHCD for, I guess moving this water over these rocks and stones. And now we are going to have another occasion in March of this year. So we're going to keep this ball rolling. We're going to spend every penny, and my colleagues are with me. We're spending every penny we can find to make housing affordability a strong reality in the District of Columbia. And, you know, I know that she gets a lot of accolades for the work that she does, but I really commend Mayor Bowser for moving this ball. She said, I'm going to do it, and I know that she was kind of strong-armed by the yellow shirts at one of the meetings we attended, but, you know, it's the right thing to do, and she's about doing the right thing, so give her a big round of applause. And I'll close by saying, as a member of the Housing Committee, I am just absolutely delighted. I came to the council a couple of years ago saying we've got to fight poverty. And that's exactly what we're doing. So thank you all for being here and for winning, and now spend that money. Do not let anything go wrong in your plans, please. Thank you.